see. I'm going to make sure we've got them set up here. Gonna pop them over to co-host. I should have done that before the break was over. I was stretching my legs. Okay, so there we go. All right. So welcome, Kym and Chris. And I should say too, we launched right into the day earlier. I'm Angela Brand. I'm with NAMI California. It's really great to have everyone here today. I'm really, really excited to have Kym and Chris joining us. They are doing incredible work in their communities. And so we don't have a formal PowerPoint presentation. We're doing a little bit more of a casual kind of fireside chat. We have some questions that we've prepared to ask them so they can highlight the work that they're doing. But I wanted to start and just give them both an opportunity to introduce themselves and share a little bit about who they are and how they came to be part of the NAMI family.
All right. Kym, you want to go?
Sure. So I am Kym Barber. I am the Youth Program Coordinator for Mental Health Programs at the Stanislaus County Office of Education. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with all of the youth and adults who are working to reduce the stigma surrounding mental illness and improve the overall wellness and understanding of mental health around our campuses. So our office recently received a grant where we proposed an innovation of blending our effective tobacco programs with called FAST, with a model of collaboration with the traditional NAMI on campus high school. And through that administration, we're able to build on relationships with our school districts. And we've been able to recruit 11 clubs in Stanislaus County already just since September, and we have over 250 members now. We are hosting monthly advisor meetings. We dig a little deeper and provide more resources. We are able to host monthly advisor meetings. I provide a newsletter. We've developed a website for our local affiliates, or excuse me, our local clubs. And we're expanding the curriculum, and our club meetings are able to hear from the advisors about their challenges and celebrate their accomplishments and encourage their club members to engage students even further. And also, in addition to the club meetings that they're hosting at the local schools, we host county-wide meetings and trainings. And in December, we hosted an advocacy training with our local behavioral health and recovery systems, our BHRS. And we invited our club members. About 100 students came to learn the language about the processes of local organization and how they're planning the future of mental health services. So we've been excited. We're excited to see where we're going next.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Chris is the executive director of our NAMI Fresno affiliate. So welcome.
Thank you very much. We do a lot here in Fresno, and I'm really proud of our county and all the work that we do. My commitment to our students and our youth probably stems from my own lack of support when I was an adolescent and experienced my own challenges with my mental health, only I didn't have those words to use whatsoever. I didn't know anything about recovery and healthy habits. And so as I learned more about the Ending the Silence program, I was very interested in it, became one of our lead presenters for the program. And I love working with our youth and telling our story, my story, NAMI's story. I've been here 7 years. I came out of the finance and banking world, knew nothing about mental health or that even I could do the work in this area. And when I understood lived experience from my own perspective, it really was a game changer for me. And so I spend a lot of my time either working with our first responder community with their wellness, or working with our youth and understanding mental health and reducing stigma with them. And in the area with our youth, in addition to being passionate about telling the story of your own wellness and your own mental health journey, I really want our youth understanding career opportunities in the world of behavioral health as well, knowing that we have a lot of space available for them to step in. And I really see the The landscape is very different with our youth than it was when I was young, and it creates so much hope for me. And so I really do dedicate a lot of my time from NAMI Fresno's affiliate to give to those youth to shape our future. And it is a true privilege to be sitting in those circles and at those tables. And I'll tell you, if there is no seat for me at that table, I just show up with my own chair, and I have no problem standing.
That girl.
I love it. I love it. Well, so one of the first questions we had is a little bit about why you feel youth mental health in particular is such an important topic. And I know you touched briefly on it a little bit, and a lot of it is, personal lived experience, but anything else that you want to add to that?
Well, I work with the families in our community, and I openly tell my story in the community, which creates a reach from the community members. Friends of mine that are parents with children that are experiencing challenges, whether that be an ongoing situation the families may have, or new, because the pandemic has really changed our environment for us. And it's elevated the conversation of mental health and the importance of it, I believe. And I just really want to seize that opportunity and not let that momentum go, because we can shape resources, we can break down barriers that have existed way too long. And then by including our youth, as we've talked about repeatedly in this symposium, we need to include the youth voice. They can tell us what it needs to look like, what is helpful for them. And we heard earlier the differences of our children. I have three myself, and they're all three very, very different and have different needs. So we can't have a one size fits all. And the fact that our youth are willing to talk with us about such a significant topic that affects us, whether we are young and then the rest of our lives, we are impacted with changes in our mental health. I think that, again, it just creates so much hope for me that our future for mental health care, resources, stigma reduction, our youth are the ones making a huge difference.
Agree.
I so agree. For me, mental health is important because for me, I grew up in a family with a severely mentally ill family member. I understood firsthand the impact that stigma and discrimination had on recovery. My mom's mental illness exacerbated when her father, my grandfather, died by suicide. And I experienced that resulting trauma throughout my life. And mental health, it discriminates, and I watched that firsthand. On one hand, they struggle with the symptoms of the disability that result from the mental illness, and on the other, they're challenged by the stereotypes and prejudices, and that is just those misconceptions of mental illness. And I wanted to spend time addressing those things. Our mental health includes our emotional, our psychological, our social well-being. It's the lens we use to determine how we think, we feel, and we act. And you talked, Chris, about careers. That lens is how we determine the path that we choose for our life. And it determines how we handle stress, how we relate to others. So mental health is important at every stage of our life, from childhood to adolescence. And until the stigma of mental health can be eliminated, we have a big work to do.
Yep.
Absolutely. I love talking with you both. I always just get so excited and hopeful every time. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight today, and so, largely, this event, today's was more of a focus on advocacy and the ways that, knowing what we heard yesterday from that amazing panel from the Alcove Youth Advisory Group, and just the information that was shared with other participants through the chat and the survey. I mean, we know that this is an important issue. We know that the earlier we intervene and we start having these conversations, the better the trajectory is for any of those individuals. But thinking about how we can take that information and put it into action. And so hearing from Senator Portantino about opportunities for young people and the adult allies that support them can get behind something like, SB 224. talking with Mata about the recommendations in the student mental health report from the OAC, and really activating folks to think about how they can do this work locally and at the state level. I wanted to focus a little bit about some of the work that you both are doing locally, with the hope that the participants here today can hear that and think about, this. When we talk about advocacy, there's always that, oh, we've got to go to the Capitol and we have to talk to lawmakers, but advocacy is every day, and it's very much a part of what we do. And there's a lot of things that we can do, at home and in our schools and communities that, are advocacy. And so to your work, Kym, I'm thinking about the innovation project that you talked about with the OAC. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of what you were able to do with that, the club expansion, maybe some of the tools that you've created for the students in the clubs?
Yeah. So in the spring of 2019, we wrote a grant called Innovation that we sought money from the OAC to fund a 5-year project to blend these two different models of NAMI, that is an individual program that at high school, but also with our collaboration of a county-wide collaboration. And we were able to secure money for 5 years to just to practice this little experiment. So our clubs are now collaborating with numerous community agencies and organizations. I was fortunate enough to come into the Stanislaus County Office of Ed, where it is already part of a collaboration, where FAST is already, our FAST Club, our tobacco program, is already making collaborations with schools in this manner. But then because I came from homeless and foster youth, I already had those connections as well. So we were able to work with the school board local, here, and make them aware of what we were doing. The grant was funded through Behavioral Health and Recovery. So we were able to make that collaboration as well. So that training I talked about earlier, we asked them to come in to our meeting and talk about what they're doing so that the students could have that language and understand the planning, that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that they're not aware of. So through the grant, we want to increase the knowledge the students have regarding access to mental health services. And you saw through Mara's presentation that they want to know these things. We want to see the attitudes change regarding stigma and mental health. We're hoping to increase student access to the available resources. We want student advocates and peers to be seeking, to show them how to seek help. And then we want to increase the number of students that believe there are support systems on campus and that there's someone that cares about them. And then also increase protective factors, that they know there's a caring relationship, that they have healthy habits, that they've improved their interpersonal skills, self-management skills, they have opportunities for participation among all the students and improve their well-being. So through these collaborations, I've been so fortunate to be able to work with NAMI Stanislaus, our local affiliate, and build on relationships with the different school districts. And it's just been a tremendous effort. And I, like you, Chris, when I'm not invited to sit with somebody, I ask for a seat because I don't want to stand. No, but those collaborations are important. I show up at every OAC meeting, even when the agenda doesn't fit with what my plan is. I show up at every BHRS meeting and then I share the information with my supervisors and with people that it's important to. So I want to sit at the table and I want to be able to share what I'm doing when the opportunity arises.
That's great. Thank you. And, I'm hoping that those in attendance today, if you're thinking about, the different ways that you can be involved, there's a lot of opportunity to think about how we can develop, partnerships between school districts and schools and the state, demonstrating that commitment through their investment in innovation dollars, really thinking about how, this project highlights it's such a great example of working sort of outside of that silo. Having that club on campus is great, but you're doing such incredible work connecting these students to advocacy opportunities, helping them understand the system, which, for those of us that work in this space, we know California's system is incredibly unnecessarily complex. And there's so many different players and So it's really wonderful. We're so excited to work with you, as you grow the partnerships in Stanislaus, and, really hoping that for those of you that, are looking to do something similar in your communities, that, please reach out to us. We'll put some information in the chat box if you're interested in starting an NCHS club. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have rock stars like Kym that are doing this all day, who've created tons of resources. We have a stellar team here at NAMI California that want to help. And so, I see Allie's on, today. She's doing a lot of work with the club. So there's a huge, supportive circle for those of you that are thinking about how to bring that type of activity to your school. And then also our next session, we'll hear directly from young people working in both NCHS and Ending the Silence around the work that they're doing to bring their clubs, and those mental health topics to their schools. But I do want to ask, Chris, I want to ask you, you've been doing some work with the athletics department and the coaches, really, crossing that bridge from, the academic side to the athletic side, and really making a point to draw out the conversation on how important it is for those folks that are supporting young people to also be in the middle of the conversation around mental health. So if you could share a little bit about that work with us.
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to tell this story, because it's a huge win and success, one that I literally jump up and down with. I started with NAMI 7 years ago, and about 6 years, I really had a good understanding of what we do. And I started sharing about our Ending the Silence presentation with anybody who would listen. But my children are athletes and have grown and are out of school. One is still in high school, but they've always been athletes. And I recognized an opportunity to present Ending the Silence to what I believe was a really good fit in a school system. I know it's encouraged in a health class, but in our area, health is often taught over the summer, independent study, and we don't see kids. So I thought, well, that's a missed opportunity for a big group of kids. So where else would it fit? PE is what I thought. So I approached my son's baseball coach and said, hey, I've got this fantastic program. Can I present it to your baseball PE class? Because I believe that athletes should and would benefit from hearing a presentation about mental health. And I'll never forget his response. His response was, no way, Chris. Athletes don't have mental health issues. And if they do, they don't belong on my team. And I was crushed. I was absolutely devastated with that, because I knew different. I knew very different, but I didn't give up. I kept talking about it, only I went different places. And again, it's staying involved in various areas within school districts, and sharing about your programs and making sure they're all very aware of it. Fast forward to issues with the pandemic, and Madera Unified, I'll brag about them because I'm so proud of the initiative they took. A coach came to the athletic director for the school district and said, I'm not sure what to do. He went to his director of mental health services within the school district and said, I have a coach that's come to me. He's been approached by a student who's expressing suicidal thoughts. We don't know what to do. We've never really encountered things like this, but it's happening more often. Our kids are struggling and we need to know what to do. She knew of our program because I don't shut up about any of it. So she said, I have the perfect person for you, specifically about my desire to deliver this in PE classes and in athletic environments for our kids. And so she coordinated a meeting for us. It worked out beautifully. The athletic director, we did an overview. He liked it. So he made it mandatory for his entire coaching staff for the district. So it was about 250 coaches. All the athletic programs had to sit through Ending the Silence for school staff. And when you're told you have to do something, most of the athletic department staff were grateful for it. Some of it was validation. They were familiar. They were just refreshed. But the feedback was absolutely overwhelming, how incredibly helpful it was. And in that presentation, we talk about the coordination of bringing everybody together to support the youth. I learned after those presentations were completed, and we did 5 presentations, but I had to ask back. He wanted us to do this for his entire staff, and I said, absolutely, you name the time and date, we'll be there, but I want something from you. I want to come back and present Ending the Silence for Families. And I want to do this with the families of the student athletes. And then I want to access your athletes, and I want to present Ending the Silence with them as well. That gives a well-rounded message. This youth is supported from both sides of this. And he said, absolutely. He saw no problem with that. So we are still moving forward with those activities. And it's just been wonderful. But what I learned is that the athletic department and the education system, or the teaching staff, are not always connected with what's going on with students. There was a big opportunity missed to connect them to support our students in a better way. That dialogue may not have ever happened if we wouldn't have been in presenting our program, sharing information, giving them guidance on ways to support youth better. Then from that, other travel coaches were hearing about the presentation, and other school districts heard about this, and they're reaching out and asking, hey, Chris, can you guys come do that for our school district? We want our athletic department to participate in that, that presentation, because our coaching staff needs it. And I often say, our coaches are often that trusted adult our youth will go to, especially when they're involved in that extracurricular activity. And we encourage extracurricular activities. So it was a really, really good fit. What I also did for that was I recruited Ending the Silence young speakers that were former student athletes with a mental health journey to share. And I was overwhelmed with the response that these former student athletes reached out and said, oh my gosh, I wish my coach would have known this. I wish my my teammates would have better understood my journey. And this was an opportunity for them to come back and learn how to tell that story that then can help other youth and coaching staff and families as well, because sometimes the family disconnect is often a barrier for our youth. So it was just, it's a wonderful thing. I have goosebumps talking about it, because it took a while, it took patience, it took perseverance, it took, again, the constant dialogue about who we are and what we do, and everyone knows the passion, they hear it, see it when I talk about it. And by nature, I'm a salesperson. So that's why I had my big ask ready. Let me have access to families as well, because we know we can support families phenomenally, but also let us work with the youth so that they are empowered and educated. And that comes directly from me, remembering I didn't have language. I never knew that people could get better. I didn't know the importance of healthy habits and how that would impact my mental health. And I have crisis history that I believe I never would have had if we would have had open conversation when I were younger. And if I can give that opportunity to youth, then that's what I'm here for. So thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you. I think, listening to that and hearing, what Kym was sharing, and I think it really demonstrates how incredibly important it is to kind of come at this from all different angles to build that, sort of circle around that student and that young person, so that the school staff and the coaches and, their peers, having a club on campus is fantastic. And it's even stronger when you have, the educators and the coaches and, the person who works in the front office. And, it really just, it changes the landscape for, those young people. And like you, Chris, I think, had those supports and services been in place when I was younger, I think about how different my trajectory would be, and how lucky I am to be in this space to help my daughter, who's in that same space now at 17, and just being inspired by the young people that were here yesterday and thinking like, they just talk about it. They will put it out there and they will talk about it. And it's my hope that they will inspire others to talk and to share and to hear that they're not alone, but then knowing through the work that you're doing, you're setting it up so that, they have a supportive space. They have trusted individuals that they can go to, because you're right. The coaches, my brothers are lifelong athletes. My kids play sports. They're with those kids all the time. And so being able to provide them with the tools to better support young people, I think is, an absolute right step in the, next step, right step in the next direction?
Right step in the next direction. Well, and then when you have NAMI involved, when NAMI gets involved to support school staff and we get involved to support families, and we've supported youth, and they decide, and the next step for Madera County is to have mental health clubs on their high school campuses. So now as those NAMI clubs are established and continue to grow and they're sustained, school staff and the community members are very familiar with the power of the grassroots part of NAMI. And it's these kids leading this effort in their community. It gives them a lot of support to continue being our leaders and bringing the advocacy component into the community, why they need resources and services and access and barriers removed and to be heard.
Absolutely. I think I want to do a quick time check. Sophia, how are we on time? I did not look at.
As always, we're out of time probably because.
I think we might have a couple minutes left, but I just want to make sure before we have 2 minutes left. Okay, we have 2 minutes. So in our final 2 minutes, I want to thank you both for being here, for the incredible work you're doing locally. I hope that those of you that are here with us today see that there's a lot of ways to, be everyday, on the spot advocates, that it's, there's a lot of ways to bring mental health into the schools, into families, to communities, that we have partnerships available. Our NAMI family programs and signature programs are, we can wrap everyone around with whatever it is you need. It's one of those, hey, we gotcha. So, any last comments, any advice to folks that might be here with us today, Kym or Chris?
I was going to say, if you have a group of youth that want to be involved in mental health, consider right now bringing them together to your county or board of supervisors, or to your county school board of education, just to your school board, and ask them to make a proclamation that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. That would be just a fun thing to throw out there. And if together by May, then do it in September for Suicide Prevention Month. So.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic idea. And if folks have, they want more information on NAMI on Campus High School or any of those types of programs, if you want to get in touch, Chris or Kym, if you'd like to share your contact information for folks that, would like to contact you to learn, more about the work that you're doing, or if they have questions. And then Chris, I don't know if you have anything you want to throw out in our last minute here with everyone.
Just if you have a desire or passion to get into, to break down a wall, to get in with a school system, don't give up. And if you want to take time to brainstorm, I'm more than happy to take more time. Sharing it with you in a small amount of time, I cut a lot of it out, and and I can talk for a really long time. Everyone knows that. But honest, don't 6 years before I was happy dancing in my office when I got the text message about it. And I've just kind of been floating on this cloud. And at the end of the day, the kids are getting the information, and they need us to have that perseverance, and they need us to be committed for them on their behalf, because they need us and we need them. I'll be real honest. We need the youth. We need the youth to continue with their voice, because again, that's that hope we have for the future, and things changing. So we want to make sure we're supporting them as best we possibly can.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here today. I know that this is the first of more conversations we'll have in this space. I will wrap up our section and turn it over. I'll hand it back to Sophia so she can get our next workshop session going. But thank you so much both for everything you do every day, all the time, for youth in your communities. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for all of your words. They were so great. I can't stop saying thank you, and how much we all appreciate you being here, to both of you and our past speakers and yesterday. I'm just amazed each time I hear more voices. I'd like to introduce next, we have Crystal from